मज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदामह्यं ददाति स्वबलं। So 17th chapter is over and the 18th chapter is come. The three levels of faith were discussed in the 17th chapter, Trivida Bhavati Shraddha. And then after that, the topic of Tyaga and renunciation, Vairagya came into picture. So, what is Tyaga and what is Vairagya?
Tyaga is we do karya like activity, but you offer that results to you. You
don't take shelter of the results.
Yes, you offer the result to
Lord. And
sannyas means completely rejecting the activity.
Yes, yes. Now, in our situation, yajna dana tapa karma, we cannot give up. Why? Why we cannot give up? Because they purify. Pavanani Manishya. They are purifying all of us, human beings. That is why they cannot be given up. So that is clear for us. Now, such renunciation, which is to be done out of discomfort, oh, this is troublesome for me, so I will give up my karma. That is what renunciation in the mode of passion. Similarly, there is renunciation in the mode of goodness and renunciation in the mode of ignorance. When we give up our prescribed duties, modern days people, nobody wants to do their prescribed duties. They just out of illusion for sense enjoyment, they are giving it up. That is in ignorance. Whereas if it is for body discomfort or out of fear or trouble, then it is in mode of passion. Okay. And one who performs his prescribed duty and renounces material association which are obstacle for that prescribed duty, that is in mode of goodness. So the intelligent renouncer who is in mode of goodness, he has no doubts about work. That is what Krishna says in this 18th chapter. Okay, now even for every action there are 5 types of things that are required. What are they? Adhishtanam yatha karta, karanam cha pratak yuddham, vividascha pratak cheshta, daivam chaivatra panchamam. So it's not that just we are performing action ourselves. So there is some determination that is causing this action. Then there is a karta, the doer. Then adhishtanam yatha karta, karanam, the senses that are there, they are also involved in this pratak vidam. Then the different types of actions themselves, vividasta pratak cheshta, there are different types of efforts that we put to perform the action that is there, and eventually is the Supreme Lord who is acting. So in any action that we do, whether Arjuna does war or doesn't do war, these 5 factors are involved in that. It is not just one thing. Ultimately, when Krishna desires that he has to do, he will do anyway. So all this philosophy is telling, but ultimately if Krishna desires, he will do anyway. Arjuna doesn't have that complete freedom to, even if Krishna desires, I will not do. That type of freedom he doesn't have anyway. So all these factors are very important. Now, suddenly our scope becomes very limited because it's ultimately the Krishna's desire that is making it happen. Now, okay, now what we have to do? That is the situation when these things come up, that Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, we are conditioned in a particular way. Based on our natures, we are conditioned in a particular way. And what is the conditioning of each of them? That is separately described in detail. Samodama, Tapashocham, Kshantirajyamevacha, Jnanam, Vijnanam, Astikyam, Brahma Karma Samajam. He has all these Brahmanical qualities. Then there is Kshatriya, Ishvara Bhava, Dana, all these things are there. Yuddhe Chavipalayana. He doesn't run away from the war field. So that is natural in him. It comes naturally. And if you don't regulate, if we don't organize Kshatriyas, then what happens is those people turn into Gundas. In so many places, you saw Gundas doing Hafta Vasuli and all these things. Why that is happening? It's not the problem with the administration that they are not controlling them. How much ever they try to control them, they cannot actually control them. Instead, right from the beginning, if ethics and morality and listening to Brahmanas was trained in them, those same Gundas would become very good Kshatriyas. So by not introducing the right Swadharma for people, we are creating so much chaos in society. Then there is Vaishyas, Krushi, Goraksha, Vanijyam, Vaishya Karma Svabhajam. So Vaishya doesn't just mean business. Along with business, he has to do something for Krushi, something for Goraksha. These are mandatory things, especially cow protection. You see, Marwadis and all, they are very much into cow protection, giving donation for Goshalas. They are very much into, they have that sattvic bhava. So, स्वे स्वे कर्मण्य विरता संसितिर लभते नरा स्वकर्म निरत सिद्धिम यथा विन्दति तशृणु. See, everyone has to perform the duties that are prescribed for him. Everyone has a particular duty is prescribed. The Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, the woman, the children, then the Grahasthas, the Sannyasis. Everyone has a specific particular duty. They cannot perform, they cannot neglect this duty. And why this duty has to be performed?
To overcome our desires or
Uh-huh.
purify ourselves.
So what is the result of performing this duty?
Shreyan Sudharma,
Long.
Paradharma, Sunishta.
What is the immediate result of satisfying? It will
Proper
result in
society.
yajna.
Okay.
Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, woman, and children, and everyone performs their prescribed duty. One old man in the house is there, or old man in, everyone does their swadharma. It will result in better yajnas. And with yajnas, what will happen? That will create a more sane society, sinless society.
Sadosham.
Yes. So that is why Krishna says, Shreyan Swadharma Viguna Paradharma Sunishtita Swabhava Nityam Karma Kurvan Apnoti Kingfisham. According to our Swabhava, it is better to engage in your own occupation. Okay, that is Shreya.
Second chapter again is repeating.
Yes, even though done imperfectly, even if it is not done properly, it's
So
better
that is
to.
next one. Sadosham.
Yeah, that is the thing. 47 only. After that, Sahajam Karma Kaunteya Sadosham Api Natteje. Sarvaramba hi doshena domain agni niva. Okay, Arjuna is thinking the Brahmana's job is very nice. He has to swaha and he'll get all the dakshina and all the nice things. For me, I have to kill these people and I have to do war, I have to get angry. Maybe the toilet cleaner will be thinking that Brahmanas, Pujari Seva, everyone will come and give dakshina, respect, such a nice thing. I have to clean these dirty things and what to do. So, but even if there is dosha in others, there is dosha in every occupation. Are there no doshas in Brahmanical occupations? Definitely there are. If you perform yajnas, if you perform cooking, so many organisms are killed. So many living entities are killed in that process. So definitely even in the Brahmanical thing also there are many doshas, there are many problems. It is the nature of the material world that there will be problems. Krishna cannot create any situation in the material world which is free from problems, because then people will think this is better to stay. Krishna always wants to advertise that it's better to go back. So any occupation you take, there will be problems. Just that the type of problems will vary. When a farmer plows the field, so many organisms are killed. It is there, it's a part of this. But that doesn't mean that farmer thinks I will become a Brahmana. Then what happens is he will get the dosha of Paradharma. He cannot do that also properly. That is why even if there is dosha, one should follow one's own Swadharma. This is the verdict of Krishna. It's very important. Now, how to do this thing? How to do this Swadharma thing? You should do with the, what is that? Nishkam. Nishkama means I don't have any desire for myself. That type of mood you have to do. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spriya naishkarmya siddhi paramam sannyasena gacchati. So he will become a sannyasi if he is doing this without expectation of result. So that type of things have to be done, and that will ensure the purification. So now Krishna tells how to do these things actually. Being purified by his intelligence and controlling mind with determination, giving up objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, eats very little, who controls his body, mind, power of speech, who is always in trance and detached, free from false ego, false strength, free false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship and peaceful, such a person is certainly evolved to self-realization. Now, while performing your prescribed duties, any person can come to this level. It's not that only Brahmana has to come to this level. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, anyone can come to this level where he will be freed from false prestige. He will not have desire. He will not have senses. His senses will not trouble. He can eat little. That type of level, anyone can come. Okay. So, then Bhaktya Mama Vichanati, Yaman Yachasmi Tatvata. By devotional service, you should understand Krishna. This level also anybody can. There is no restriction on self-realization. Anybody, irrespective of whichever ashram you are in, whatever varna you are in, you can come to the level of self-realization. You can perform devotional service to
The
Krishna.
independence is given.
Yes. So now two things are there. One is devotion, one is material engagement. One is the dharma of the soul, one is the dharma of the body. You should not mix these two things. Then it will lead to confusion.
Oh, if you can please repeat this.
One is the dharma of the soul, one is the dharma of the body. You should not mix these two things. Then it will lead to confusion. Dharma of the soul is devotional service. That is irrespective of body. Anyone can do this dharma of the soul. Anyone can do devotional service. There is no restriction on it. Now, dharma of the body, yes, there are restrictions. According to your Svesve Karmanya Virata, Samsiddhir Labhate Nara. Based on what your prescribed duties are, you have to engage in that type of things. That you cannot give up. Even till the last, we are in 18.56, 18.57. Still, Krishna is saying that you cannot give up your prescribed duties. You have to hold on to this. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matpara buddhiyogam upashritya matchitta satatam bhava. Now, in all these activities, Brahmana may be doing Brahmana work, Shudra may be doing Shudra work, woman may be doing her work. Just depend on Krishna and always work under his protection. So one should not give up his prescribed duties, but at the same time, he should work under the protection of Krishna. So he is still not telling that you should renounce what you are supposed to do. In such a devotional service, you will become fully conscious and then you will be able to pass on by my grace. You see, here Krishna warns, Ata chet tvam ahankaram na shoshrati vinakshasi. If by ego, out of ego, you don't listen to me and don't perform a prescribed duty, then you will be lost, Krishna says. He warns for yajna, whatever he has told, everyone has to, yajna arthat karmano anyatra lokam, everyone has to do their prescribed duty for yajna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they have to act. And even in 18th chapter, he says, yajna dana tapak karma pavanani manishina, all these things has to be done. But out of ego, if somebody thinks I am a devotee and you don't have to do this, what will be the result? We will be lost. He is giving warning here, serious warning that we will be lost. So that is why these things have to be done. Yada ankaram ashritta nayotse iti manyate mityaisha vivasayaste prakritistvam niyokshasi. Means what it tells, if you don't do war, which is your prescribed duty, what will happen? You will go to the forest as a sannyasi, you will be meditating. There somebody picks up a fight with you. What you will do? Because it's your nature, you will immediately start fighting. At least it is better to kill Duryodhana. No? You are in a dharma yuddha, you are on Krishna's side, it is better to do things dharmically. Why? Swabhava jena kaunteya nibaddha svena karmana kartum nechasi yat mohat karishyasi avasopitat. Even if you under illusion, now you don't accept your swadharma. In future, by Swabhava, you have to act under this. Because Ishvara Sarva Buddhanam Vidyeshwara Arjuna Tishtite. I am in everyone's heart. And I control, I know what is there in your heart. You don't have to act smart. I know what is in everyone's heart. You are still conditioned. And because you are still conditioned, better you follow your Swadharma. Okay. Now, yes. Now, this is very confidential knowledge he is telling because Krishna is very dear, he is friend. And what is that confidential knowledge? Manvana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasya satyamte pratijani striyosimi. So, this is the goal. Don't get confused here. What is the goal? Goal is to always think of Krishna become Krishna's devotee and pay obeisances to him. And in this way, you will come to him. This is the goal. And where are we? We are in our Swadharma. Now you are getting doubt that if I do my Swadharma, there are so many faults, whereas others' dharma is very nice. Correct. So if I do others' dharma, I will go faster to this level. Which level? Think of Krishna, become his devotee and all. That is when Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. Don't worry about the faults of your Swadharma. Because you are religiously following your Swadharma, I will take care of the faults. You just surrender to.
That means, like he's saying, like don't go to Paradharma.
Don't do Paradharma.
Swadharma.
Do your Swadharma, which is defined for you by your Swabhava, by your nature, not by your mental speculation, not by your choice, by your Swabhava.
So if you feel difficulty, you offer it to like say,
No, by your Swabhava. Swabhava means there are so many ways Bhaktivinoda Thakur has described. First of all, of course, there is some scope for genetics also, that you are born in a particular place, the environment you have grown in, that also matters to some extent. It's not the only deciding factor, but it matters. But along with that, your birth chart can be seen, and then your inclination towards work can be seen. So considering all these things, the Guru or the Brahmanas will decide, will know what your Swabhava is. And based on your Swabhava, you have to act. And while acting as per your Swabhava, don't worry. Don't think that others' dharma is better. Because Krishna is there. If you surrender to Krishna, even if your faulty Swadharma is there, he will perfect it. That is the meaning of Sarva Dharman Parityajya. It doesn't mean that you give up your duty of Varnashrama, you give up performing yajnas, you give up performing jnanaya, you give up studying shastras, you give up, and you develop an imaginary concocted idea of surrender that I am dependent on Krishna now. Whatever he says will happen. Now that is what is happening. After taking initiation and after spending some time in Krishna conscious moment, we give up all our responsibilities, thinking I am dependent on Krishna, now I have no more responsibilities. Whereas here Krishna is stressing responsibility, that you have to take up responsibility which is there for your Swadharma. Which are your dharmas? You may have Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Varnashrama dharma you may have. You will have dharma as a son. You will have dharma as a father. You will have dharma as a husband. You will have dharma as a wife. Every man has hundreds of dharmas. He cannot give up his Swadharma, thinking that I am a surrendered devotee, I don't have any more duties. The faults while performing your Swadharma, that will be taken care of Krishna if you surrender to him, if you are dependent on him, doing for him. And then the goal of Manmana Bhavamat Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru will reach. It is possible. And it is possible irrespective of whichever Swadharma you are. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Anyone can reach this level where they are always meditating on Krishna. But don't at all give up the Swadharma. That is the point that Krishna is emphasizing in 18.66. So, what is that Sharanagati? What is the definition of Sharanagati?
as the Bhaktivinoda Thakur Sri Krishna.
Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam rakshityate iti vishwaso goptrutva varnanta atmanikshepa karpanya shadvida sharanagati. First thing that comes is anukulasya sankalpa. In second chapter, Bhayad Ranad Uparatam iti mansante te maharatha. Krishna is telling Arjuna that people will laugh at you, that out of fear you have ran away from battlefield. So after explaining about spirit soul, such a great concept beyond body, why is bringing material reasons that they will laugh at you? If they will laugh, I am soul. How does it matter?
We are criticizing this body, not the soul.
That argument can be defeated easily. What is the point? No, that point becomes relevant now. Why it becomes relevant now? Because if people are laughing at you, is that an anukula paristhiti for Sharanagati or a Kshatriya? If people are laughing at a Shudra, he doesn't have so much of ego. He is anyway laborer. Okay, but for a Kshatriya, Is it Anukula for Sharanagati when he has no prestige in society? People will say, no, it is not Anukula for Sharanagati.
Ishvara is part.
Yes, Ishvara Bhava is part of it. So that is why even in second chapter he is speaking the same concept. That Swadharma, you have to perform your Swadharma and surrender. He's not changed his message. He's not telling that give up what I have taught till now and suddenly come and just take initiation from me and then you are done. Not like that. So this becomes a very critical thing, and this confidential idam nete na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana. Those who are not austere, they cannot understand this. Because when you perform dharma, you have to be very austere to perform that. No, this is ardent for me, I have to perform. But those who are lazy in performance of dharma, duty and all, so the such austere people, such people, they will not get this message.
And those who are very
It is not meant for them. Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na cha shushushave vacham nachamam yo bhuyasi. Yaidam paramam guyam mad bhaktesh abhidyasati bhaktim mai param krutva mame vashyasya samprada. This confidential knowledge is to be explained to the servant, one who is dear to Krishna. So now we are understanding, on one side he is telling, don't tell it. On the other side he is telling, tell it. Why he is telling both these things? Because the non-austere who are just looking for shortcuts, they will not understand this message. They will misunderstand, saying that, oh, I have surrendered to Krishna, I don't have to do anything now. Whereas those who are really austere, they will understand this message. This is what Krishna wants. So now you see how practical it becomes, bhakti, all of a sudden. When you say surrender, surrender is a very common word. But do people understand the meaning of surrender? Surrender to Krishna. But what is surrender? Can you measure it? Give me 1 liter of water. Okay, it's measurable. 1 liter means a small boy will also know. Read 5 books. It is measurable. Now surrender to Krishna, how will you measure it? It's a very vague instruction. What surrender means, there is no clarity in this. But now, all of a sudden, surrender becomes very practical. What the surrender is that, no, I have been prescribed some duty. I cannot give up. And that duty I have to do sincerely without attachment of results, as offering completely for the pleasure of Krishna. Faults in that, Krishna will take care. So that way, at least the roadmap is clear that now I have to do war. Arjuna, the road was clear now. Okay, I have to do war, I have to kill people. Faults in that, Krishna will take care eventually. So that way, the concept of surrender became very clear for him. Whereas, if this Swadharma thing is not there, if the yajnas are not there, if the karmas are not there, then the concept of surrender becomes very unclear. It becomes very vague. We don't know what surrender is. We cannot calculate the level of surrender. Am I surrendered devotee? Am I not surrendered devotee? It becomes impractical. On one extreme, what is the one extreme that people have is that they don't want to perform any activities and they just say, I am surrendered devotee. On the other extreme, it is the extreme karma without the feelings of giving it to the Lord. Okay, I have to perform yajna, I have to perform my morning duties, Sandhya Vandana, I have to perform my other things. It's my duty, I have to do it. Or it will give material benefit, I have to do it. But there is no connection that eventually it's offering to Vishnu, I am developing a loving relationship with Vishnu. That is missing. So such people can never become surrendered. So for them, surrender is impractical. On the other side, the other extreme, that in the name of surrender, we give up our prescribed duties. So that is another impractical, because surrender, nobody will be clear at any stage of life. Are we clear? Have I become surrendered or no? We imagine, oh, I have become surrendered. I am dependent on Krishna now. We imagine, but then can anyone guarantee for me that, oh yes, he is a surrendered devotee, I'll certify him as surrendered. I can certify him as initiated devotee. I can certify him as Brahminical initiated devotee, Sannyasi initiated devotee. I can certify him as 25 years of Krishna Bhakti. Can I certify him as a surrendered? So that is not possible. So what is the practical benchmark for surrender? So unless one performs this prescribed duty and seriously work for Krishna, the whole surrender idea becomes very impractical. Okay. So now there is one shloka in the Bhagavatam which conflicts to this. Tektva swadharmam charanambujam harer bhajan na pagvotapate tato yati tatra kvava bhatram abhutamushyakim kovatapto bhajatam swadharmatah. So what is being said in this shloka is Tektva swadharmam charanambujam harer. If you give up your swadharma and take to lotus feet of Krishna, bhajan na pagvot patet tato yati. And in this path, even if you are not doing bhajan properly, Hari bhajan properly, you are a neophyte devotee, you don't know how to do bhajan properly. But you have given up your swadharma and you have taken shelter of lotus feet of Hari. Tatra kvava bhadram, what is inauspicious in that? Kovartha apto bhajatam swadharma. By doing your prescribed duty, what benefit have you gained? Now what is this? Bhagavatam is saying that there is no benefit in doing swadharma. Whereas if you take up shelter of Hari, then there is no need of doing swadharma. Is that the understanding? What to understand about this shloka?
Next shloka says like Tasya hetu prayati tu lavabhyati bhagatam padiyata tavalabhyati dukkhavati aranyadasya kalena sarvatra vidya.
So what it says?
Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtained even by wandering from topmost planet Brahmaloka down to the planet Patala. As far as happiness is derived from sensual enjoyment is concerned, it cannot be obtained automatically in the course of time, just as in the course of time we obtain miseries, even though.
That is the point. So here the importance of Hari Bhajana is stressed. Spiritual life is stressed.
Yeah, one more thing also you mentioned, it is the Swadharma of soul.
No, it's the spiritual life that is stressed here. By Hari Bhajana, Hari Bhajana is alone enough to give you perfection. Even if you are not doing Swadharma properly, but the Hari Bhajana is strong enough to do it. Okay. Now, Kovartha Apto Bhajatam Swadharmata is in comparison to Hari Bhajana. That if you don't do Hari Bhajana and do perfectly your Swadharma, what is the use? You will be again running in this material world only. That is the next shloka. So that Hari Bhajana is very important in this point. The glory of Hari Bhajana is discussed. But this shloka doesn't contradict Krishna's message in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's message in Bhagavad Gita is do your Swadharma. That is better for you. If you out of ego, you don't do your Swadharma, you will be destroyed. That he has clearly said. This shloka doesn't contradict that. This shloka just emphasizes that Hari Bhajana is so very important, you cannot give it. But at the same time, the original instruction of Bhagavad Gita, that performance of Swadharma still remains. You cannot nullify that. So Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, everyone has to perform their prescribed duties. Everyone has to act for Yajna eventually. Yajna artat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma. Eventually, the results for Yajna. And suppose you are a pure devotee, then you have to act for Loka Sangrama. Vapi sampashyan kartum adasya. So at least for Loka Sangra, you must act. So that way, everyone has certain prescribed. Now, generally in Sannyasa Dharma, what happens is, they don't have Agni Sparsha. Of course, Krishna rejects that in Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter where he says, Anashrita karma phalam, karyam karma karotya, sasannyasi cha yogi cha, na niragni na chakriya. One who doesn't get attached to the results, he is a real sannyasi, not the one who actually doesn't perform yajnas. But overall, once you come to sannyas ashrama, you don't have to, because it's the grahasthas who have to maintain the sannyasis. Sannyasis need not have to maintain themselves. So overall, that is why you see sannyasis don't have major prescribed duties. Their major prescribed duty is study of Vedanta and teaching that Vedanta to society. Study of things that cause detachment from material world and teach the same to students. That is the most important responsibility. Everything else grahasthas are supposed to take. Okay. That is why you see 7th canto of Bhagavatam. Narad Muni describes to Yudhishthira Maharaj about the prescribed duties. He begins with Brahmacharya. Brahmachari is small, not so much. Then Vanaprastha is little bit detailed. You have to very austere and you have to really cut material. Sannyasi is little. Yudhishthira Maharaj asks him, what about Grahasthas? That time he gives a very big explanation. Grahasthas have responsibility to maintain family. They have to do the prescribed duties. They have to do things for maintaining family. Then they have to offer Shraddha to ancestors. It is also a very important part of their prescribed duty. So many responsibilities are there in Grahastha. They have to feed the society. They have to give donations. So much responsibilities are there in Grahastha. So that is why for a Grahastha, it's very important that they fulfill all these things. Okay. And if in renounced order, if we define based on our standard, the standard of Grahasthas, prescribed duties, that will not work. Okay. Now, for a sannyasi, okay, if Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vaja, when he surrendered to Krishna, he has to perform his duty. And what is his duty? His duty is to study Shastra, preach the Shastra. That's all. Correct. So for him, it's clear. There is no confusion in that. Now, that same standard you cannot expect from a family man. If you try to impose this standard on family men, what will happen? They will go outside and work. Because they have to maintain their family. And then they will have to work in a sinful society. So how relevant it is in our context of children's education and Gurukula and all these things, you have to understand very clearly. That first thing is Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kashchit Yatati Siddhe Yatatam Api Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Veti Dharma. The serious practitioner of devotional service is going to be very rare. Not be so many people. Very rare people will take up to serious devotional service. Even among the people whom we preach in colleges, we go and preach. Among them, few will start coming for program. Among those few who come for program over many years, 1 or 2 will join temple. And among those who join temple, most of them will go out and become grahasthas. Eventually, hardly you will get one who will come to this level of suffering devotee. This is after so much hard endeavor for preaching. Now, when we bring children to our Gurukulas, what do you expect? They just that parents have decided one day that, okay, from today the boy will be in Gurukula. And the boy thinks that, okay, I will get a chance to play here now. Many new friends are there. In that conception, he comes here. Do you expect that all of them will become serious renunciates or serious practitioners of detachment and don't do anything for family life? Most of them will not become initiated devotees. Most of them will not become devotees. This is a fact. We should not be surprised why they are not becoming devotees. It's nature's law. Most of them will not become devotees. Now, what will we do for those who don't become devotees? For a college graduate who comes and who doesn't become devotee, what we do? We send him out. You please go. But for a father, if his son doesn't become devotee, he cannot send him out of the house. What he does?
He gives the shelter and
He adjusts somewhere. Okay, do this thing, at least do this business. Help me in my bhakti. Means give some donation to temple, do something like that. 12th chapter. What was discussed in 12th chapter? Once you are not on topmost level, then Abhyasena Kaunteya Vairagya Chavitte. The next level, Abhyasapit Samarthosi, Mat Karma Krit. Mat Karma Krit, Mat Karma. So at least work for Krishna. If you are at least not able to work for Krishna, at least support externally. If you are not supporting externally, at least try to get some knowledge. Better than knowledge is karma. Do some activities. And that karma is directly connected to yajna. So ultimately, you have to set them in the yajna cycle. Evam pravartitam chakram nanavartayati haya adhayurindriyagama mogam partasi jivati. If at all our students don't become devotees, at least there will be some brahmana who will be performing some yajnas. Karma kanda is there. Okay, but they are helping in setting up that society, Vedic society. Or there may be some farmers who are growing directly for yajna. They will be protecting cows. They will be cleaning masonry, so many things you can do, which are all part of Yajna Chakra. They will fit in Yajna. Whereas for that, Prabhupada emphasized Varnashrama college. Very important Varnashrama. At the age of 12, Prabhupada said you must have a Varnashrama college. That urgency to have Varnashrama college is very important. Because we have
If
to,
we don't engage them in their dharma, swadharma,
they'll be lost.
like you gave the example of Kundas.
Hmm.
Because they don't have any proper engagement, moral ethics,
Hmm.
there is no proper training, so they're just getting diverted and harassing the society.
So now what happens is that if you don't arrange proper Varnashrama college, proper training and all, they will go out and they'll be a part of modern society. And when they are part of modern society, it is more disturbing because it is not going to help Yajna, it is not going to help Bhakti, it is not going to help Sharanagati, it is not going to help anything. So that is why this whole thing has to be organized based on Yajna. Then it will happen. So even when Krishna says Sarvadharman Parityajya, he is actually bringing this point that everyone should be in their Swadharma, which will eventually result in Yajnas, and that will lead to a sinless society. So that perspective becomes very important. Now, I will have just one last session. In the next session, I will discuss about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Ray's conversation. That's a very important conversation. How does this fit with that? Or is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opposing this? Is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not wanting Bhagavad Gita? All those many important questions are there, which we'll be addressing in next. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa